throughout the United States, you know. So I was always on the move. I like adventure. That's part of me too, and I think I got that from my grandfather.
So what is the like? Is there a single adventure that you went on that like stands out as like the most fun, like the?
Yeah, I think the one going back to Norway to my home country, and I mean I could tell you stories about that that was just shocking, and it was getting to meet my family, and they all remembered they all knew my grandfather, and they lived in 17 Longerstrand in Larvik, Norway. Okay, I can't speak Norwegian.
So what is, I'm interested in these stories about Norway that you're talking
Well,
about.
I'll give you one. It's fortunately in Norway, by the time people graduate high school, they know 5 languages, and that's a requirement because you can travel 200 miles in Europe, in a totally different country, who speaks a totally different language. So I got to. When I came back there, I wanted to see the country, and I had free airline tickets to fly all over Europe, you know, because I worked for the airlines. But I took a train down from Oslo to Larvik, and I got off, and I told and I got a hotel because it was late, and it was in the winter, and Norway's in the Arctic Circle, as you know, and it's like 25 below, you know. So here's a California boy out there. So then I got a room, and the next day I got a cab driver, and I said, okay, I want to go to 17 Longerstrand. And he goes, okay. And I go, what does that mean? He goes, that means Long Beach. I said, oh my God. I traveled all this way, and I'm going back to Long Beach. So when I got to, he drove me to this residence, and it was an old residence, in a big plot of land. And my family owns property in Norway, which is next to impossible. And they've owned it for hundreds of years, you know, and the whole family lives there. If a son gets, they build another house, you know. It's like, and when I went up to, now this one here it stands out. More than getting the diploma and talking to people and stuff, which I enjoyed immensely. They couldn't believe the United States, you know. But when I knocked on the door, this little lady comes up, and she's like really old, and she was before they started making all the people learn languages. And she opens up the door, and she looks at me, and tears comes to her eye. She can't talk or anything. She doesn't say a word. And she reaches out and grabs me, and this is like she's in her late 80s, you know, 90. I don't know how old she was, but she just grabs me, walks me into the entrance. We make a left. We go into the front room of the house, which is basically a gigantic fireplace, of course. And my great grandfather, they didn't have photography then, but they did a painting. There was a painting of her and my great-grandmother up on that's to honor them, was up above on the fireplace. And she just pointed at the painting of my great-grandfather, and I am his exact double. Wow. And she just started hugging me and crying, and we had no way of communicating, but we were communicating just beautifully, you know. Whoa. And I just went there, oh my God. And like, I had a mustache, and he had a mustache, my hair went straight back, his hair went straight back. And he had the same facial, and I just went, oh my God, you know. So finally, then my cousins came in, and we introduced each other to each other, and then I got to learn about the Norwegian people, and fortunately they spoke English. And I got to, and see, I don't know how familiar you are with World War II, but Norway was seized by Germany in World War II, and they fought in our underground there, and they're very proud of it. And their town was, the whole country was given back to them before the World War. The Germans pulled out, you know, and they're very proud of what they did. when I was there, I was walked around in the Erickson part of this lady who married a man called Boehm, B-O-H-N, Benny Boehm, but he was the head of the lumber company. And the Erickson, my cousin, we walked around, and you walk around and you take little sips of brandy, and because you'll freeze over there. It's like taking antifreeze. And then, but she would show me all the places where the underground would, and photographs, you know, where they would get the Germans, they would concentrate on the German officials, and they would lure them into barns and stuff like that, and a lot of it was done by the women, and then they would murder them, and they did this so well that the Germany left Norway before the end of the war.
Whoa.
And that's what they're very proud of, and they have pictures of, you know, of course a lot of people died, you know, and it was all done in a very repressive attitude, and your country is taken over by a foreign, you know, and the people weren't really nice.
Yeah.
But they did like the Norwegians because that was their ideal, the Aryan nation, right? Mm-hmm. So, but the Norwegians didn't like them, and they're very proud of that. And I was sort of proud of them for what they did.
Yeah.
But I looked at the actual sites, you know, and like one was a barn where the women would entice these guys in, gigantic barn. Now it's a monument, you know, and it was just great. That was fulfilling to learn about that, you know, and learn about my family. And they didn't want me to come back. And they go, Gary, there's one more plot right here. They wanted to build a house for me there, and they thought that their picture of America was at that time was, did they really shoot at one another? They thought every town was like a cowboy town, like the Old West.
Yeah.
And I said, well, unfortunately, you know, it was a time where people were shooting one another back then in New York and stuff like that. And I go, well, they don't really do it a lot, you know, but, you know, it does happen. And they said, no, we'll build you a house here, don't, you know, and we had the lumber and they had the expertise, you know.
So
and
what made you want to come back here, and like how come you?
Why do I like Santa Barbara?
Yeah, I mean, like, what made you not want to stay in Norway with them?
Oh, well, because I'm from here.
Oh, yeah.
And my mother and father were still alive. And well, I had a baby and an ex-wife and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I actually, you know, I think I could have stayed there. You know, I really did. I fell in love with the place. And they all spoke English, but I would have never learned Norwegian. I asked them, how do you say I love you, and which is, you know, like, what is it, 8 letters in our language? And I love you in Norwegian is something like 17 letters, and it's the most guttural sound, you know, and it's not a romantic language, and, you know, I didn't really want to learn it. And the people are very scary, and they're very, you know, I would have been accepted, but they're like very superstitious people.
So how do you know how to say it?
What?
No.
I learned it, but I've forgotten it.
Oh.
I used to be able to read what it said on there, but I've forgotten that too. But it's because I never used it when I never used it when I was there. Okay. And everybody wanted to speak English anyway because they wanted to practice. They finally had somebody to practice with, you know. So that was good. And in being involved in Mexico, I got to learn the Spanish, the Mexican traditions and the holidays, and I enjoyed that. I've learned a lot about people and all sorts of different walks of life type thing, you know. And I find that interesting. I'm an eternal student of life. I'm never going to stop doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just enjoy learning about things and listening and, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah. Let's see. So, how would you describe yourself as a person?
That's interesting. Right now, or as
Yeah, right now. Yeah.
right now, I'm a little absent-minded. My memory is I read a lot, and I'm right now. I feel like I'm a young kid. I'm 66 years old, and retired, and I'm aging. The effects are coming out, but I don't feel old. And I don't feel like like life is over for me. Because to me, there's still more to learn. My attitude is what keeps me going.
Yeah.
Because I've hurt myself tremendously, and I've had seizures and had skull fractures and stuff like that. In 2011 and 2012, and that consumes I've hurt myself during my life, and
so it kind of gives you more character, and you kind of can
yeah, I enjoy reading, and I'm the ultimate optimist. My mom used to call me a dreamer. I guess you could call me a dreamer, if you want to put it that way.
Romantic.
But I want to keep an open eye, and I just like to read. I'm part of a book club here, and
what type of books do you like to read more?
Oh gosh, I've donated a lot of books here.
Is there like a general genre you like to read more?
Well, I read everything. I enjoy, like biographies, presidents. I read a great book about Theodore Roosevelt's travels.
So you like learning about
history. Because history is important to me, and it's in a place. See, history isn't in a place where, like current affairs, where you're living it, and your decisions are being made. When you study history, you get the advantage of being able to look into a place that's already taken place, and evaluate what is going on. The way things are going today with the speed of information coming out with this internet, and it just baffles me. I read Abraham Lincoln, and something would be said about him, and he would have like months, to come up with an answer in writing, and send his answer off in response to something.
Yeah.
Now these gentlemen today have to come up to thing in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Or hours. It's like it's just amazing. So it's. And Abraham Lincoln inspired me. I've read the Benjamin Franklin. I've read those are all my books there, and then I read there's another one. I was really interested in Lincoln. I always have been, and I think he was one of the greatest guys we've ever had.
Yeah. So what the most did you like about him?
Well, he was the greatest politician in the world. And he knew how to get his things done in a way where people thought he was compromising, but he wasn't really compromising. He was just, to me, the greatest. I studied political science, so,
So
that was he to me he lived by a word. He lived by a creed that is almost non-existent. Where you live by what you believe. And your word is your word is like a handshake, and can be